statements following this weekend's homecoming game?
Well, first of all, we'd like to apologize because we had a great turnout. Grambling family came out to support us. We didn't get it done. We got to find a way to get us to find out how to not to lose games. We've been in a lot of tight games since I've been here. I think you said, 4 and 6 in 1-point games. And that's when you really got to dig deep and see, is it the fundamentals? Is it the play calling? Is this, we're not eating right? What we're doing wrong? So this week, we're going to dig into just the fundamental part. Ball security has been a problem with us, either throwing an interception or fumbling the ball. And we do emphasize, take care of the football. High and tight on the carry. The kid didn't have it high and tight. So we got to do a better job as coaches and as players with the fundamentals. And we're going to take care of that this week so we can get better. And on the defense side of the ball, we got to understand what gap integrity is and make sure the players in the game get the job done and they're capable of getting the job done, or whoever's in the game, just do what they can do. In special teams, we got to be smart. If you see the back of a jersey, throw your hands up and body shield him. Don't hit him. And we teach that also. We didn't get that point across to that kid, and we're going to do that this week.
After talking with the doctors, what's the latest on Ash and T-Set?
Well, Ash is probably going to be down for about 2 weeks. It's a shoulder injury. I met with the trainer this morning, met with the doctors Saturday night. So he's going to probably be down because it's his throwing shoulder. If it was the left shoulder, he probably could suck it up and go. But right now, he's going to be down for 2 weeks. And T-Set, it's strange, because I had ruled him out. And say, you know what, I'm going to hold you, And then when all this happened, the kid he is, I'm not going to stand back and let this go. You're going to cut my leg off. That's how much he believes in his teammates, believe in Grambling. Remember the Byron Letwich when they had to carry him? That's what you was going to have to do, T-Set. T-Set knew I was going to be in pain if I went out there, but I couldn't let my players and my teammates and let Grambling down, so I had to try to help the situation. So I take my hat off to the kid. And it's probably a setback, but I'm going to push him to day, because it's going to be what his pain tolerance can take, what he can take for his pain tolerance. So we're going to have him day, and we'll work. Byron Eaton will work at some quarterback with Dan Burke also.
I guess then to that point, do you feel like that was the smart decision then as a coaching staff, if you rule him out and then you kind of decide that actually he can play?
Well, probably not with people who hadn't played, but I know when I was at Nebraska, I was ruled out that I wasn't supposed to play on a Friday, and Saturday I got dressed and I played, and Coach Osborne played me. So probably not. It probably doesn't make sense. But you got to put yourself in this kid's shoes. If I can walk, the old school philosophy was if you can walk, you can play. But that's changed. We soft on them these days. But probably wasn't the smartest thing. But you know me. If the kid say he was able to go, he can go. But I ruled the kid out because I didn't want him playing banged up. But he decided that he wanted to go. So when he was able to go, he did the best that he can do. But no, probably wasn't smart, on coaching from a coaching standpoint. But we got through it. So now we got to move him to day.
How much sleep do you lose at night?
I don't sleep.
Okay.
I just can't. I'm not a good sleeper, especially when things like this go, because you're always trying to go through your head and say, okay, what could I have done different? Why we keep losing these games here like this? Why? You always say, why? So you go back through and you go back to your staff and you say, okay, we need to do this, but we need to do that, but we're doing this. So it's not like the NFL where you can trade them. And you can let coaches go and move coaches around. You can't do that. So we got to just keep humping on the philosophy that we have and keep working on the fundamentals. And we're dealing with a young running back group besides Trey. We're dealing with a young receiving core, and they're young. And then, hopefully as a coach, you hope they would have grew up faster. But they're growing. They fight. One thing I don't question their effort. And if we were losing 1-point games and I had to question your effort, then I have a problem. So I won't trade them. I can't trade them, but we got to get them better. We got to get them better. We got to turn that corner. We haven't turned that corner here at Grambling yet. And I think once we turn that corner, we'll be fine because we got to figure out a way how to get it done.
How frustrating is it that you think you're kind of, that you guys are losing the games and it's not really the other team going to beat you, it's the turnovers like you mentioned.
Yeah,
It's
beating
the
yourself.
small mistakes that are costing you guys the game. It's not really, the other team making a huge play or whatever.
Well, no, we giving them the games. We when you in this sport, in any sport, you can't give them stuff. We look, even you look at the Ohio State game, you gave them 35 points. You gave them the ball on like the 20-yard line. You gave them a shot. You did a busted coverage. That's what I'm saying. We got to figure out what we need to do to not lose games. Either we got to put another player in, we got to change the play call. What do we have to do to get it fixed? And we're working on it. We stayed in here last night. They're back in the morning. So it's not that the coach is not working, that the kids ain't working. We just got to find the right combination.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about you want the team to turn that corner. Now at the midpoint of the season, how do you go about making those changes when so much of what you've done has been what you built on the offseason?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, either we got to get different players in certain situations, or we got to make certain calls in certain situation, or when this group of kids are on the field, this is what they can do. This is what they do well. When this quarterback's in here, this is what he can do. This is what he can do well. We gotta find the right combination. We just gotta find the right combination, and I think once we find the right combination, we'll turn that corner. But I was thinking that we would turn this corner a little quicker than we have, and we haven't. And that's why I don't sleep, because I'm like, I'm doing a piss poor job doing this. I don't know. You look at it, you say, no, you're doing it, but it's not happening. So it lands on my shoulder. Everything lands on my shoulder. And when you lose, I wear that loss on my sleeve for a long time, but I try to be positive with the kids. But, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight every day, and that's what I know they're going to do.
You wake up and you look at the standings now. It's a lot of people always look at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep the guys at this point now, being on to a conference play, focused on let's get the next one and go?
Well, we got to go 1-0 this week, and that's how we focus on. If they don't come across their TikTok screen, they don't look at it. They're different. They're looking at little videos and stuff. So they're not paying attention to that. I don't think. I think the coaches pay attention to it where we're at. But I told them, in the West, a lot of things happen. I think Southern got in last year at 8-4. So a lot of things happen, but you can't make it happen unless you win. So we got to worry about Arkansas Pine Bluff. We put Texas Southern to rest last night. So now the focus is on Arkansas Pine Bluff, which is a tough team, because the hardest thing to do in SWAC play or anywhere around the country is to win on the road. And it's hard, but it could get done.
Before moving to Arkansas Pine Bluff, sorry, just one last question about Texas Southern. What was the thought process on going for 2 on the opening touchdown? 'Cause that kind of,
Yeah, my little grandson asked me.
That kind of cost.
Yeah.
Cost him,
Well, we had to look. We said if we get the look, we're going to execute it. We're going to execute it, and we had to look, and we just didn't execute it. Like, we said if you hit it, you're a hero. If you don't hit it, but, I probably thought I should have chased those points early, but usually you don't want to chase them early. But next time, we're going to have to get the look for the second time before we run it. That's on me.
You mentioned it's hard to win on the road. I was looking, you guys haven't won on the road in over a calendar year here. Just like, what do you feel like is the challenge of going on the road with this team?
Shit, riding those buses. No, I think it's focus. I think it's focus when you're away from this place, and kids in this league tend to play a little tougher at home than on the road, because they're comfortable in their surroundings. And I think when you take a team like this on the road, you ride buses. You ride a bus, and that's part of the problem also, that you got to get on a bus and you got to ride a bus sometimes 3 or 4 hours, and then get there and it's different food, different hotel. You're not in your bed, So there's a little different things happen on the road, but we got to get past that. Because one thing's going to happen when we're dead and gone, they're still going to be playing road games here at Grambling. So we got to get past that. We got to figure out, let's go get a win on the road. You're right. We hadn't won here in a long time on the road.
What do you see in Arkansas Pine Bluff? Just a quick preview.
Well, I think all these teams are very well coached in this league. I know people don't give these guys a lot of credit, but they don't do it much. But like I say, they do it well. They want to bring heat. They want to bring, pressure, field pressure a lot. on defense, and then on offense, they do a whole bunch of stuff. Tony Hall, a guy that was here before, he's a very talented offensive coordinator, young talented offensive coordinator who has a Hawaii background, just has a really good background. So he's going to do some things to try to confuse us, like put the receiver as the hip, put the tight end out wide, just some things to kind of confuse your coverage. So, best thing, if we can play base defense and be successful, I think that's the route that we probably need to go.
Yeah, Coach, you guys have had some success in the pass rush, not as much in stopping the run heading into Arkansas Pine Bluff. What are the keys for that front seven?
Well, just to figure out what we're doing inside in the A and the B gap. Are we moving them too much? Do we need to keep them still? So we're gonna go back and finish looking at it today when the kids get back here later. We'll have a game plan. We'll know exactly what we're gonna do with them. So we're during that right now. They're gonna try to figure out what we need to do. They have better gap integrity, and if it's your gap, then it's your gap. It's your gap. But we got to make sure we have the right people in the game at the right time. So our rotation has to be better, and we talked about that this morning at staff meeting.